Well, welcome to Lunch for the Soul, everyone. I am Melissa Wilson with Fox 26 Morning News, also a medical reporter for Fox 26. And do I ever have a guest to introduce you today? If you're ready to be motivated, if you're ready to just say, you know what, I can do anything after hearing this story, today is your day just to sit back, relax, listen in, because you're about to be amazed. So let's bring in Carrie Bradshaw. Hi,
Hi.
Carrie. How are
Hi,
you?
everybody. Hi, Melissa. Thank you so much for having me.
I am so happy to share your story. You are one of the strongest women I have ever been blessed to meet. So
Oh,
you are the runner of all runners. It started in college?
yeah, college recreationally and even high school some, but I wasn't competitive. I would
Uh-huh.
just kind of run, as a stress relief. Never really tracked my stats. It
Mhm.
wasn't until after college where I ran marathons in college, but it wasn't until after college where I really started getting that competitive edge back.
Well, it was very important in your life for many years, and you have
Yeah.
done so much. So we're talking you've run 10 full marathons, but then maybe 50 to 60 half marathons around the world. I mean,
Yeah.
your legs have been very busy. Well, your whole body, obviously,
Yes.
but that just painting a picture to how important this is to you.
Right, right. It is. It's a huge passion of mine. It has been for years, and yeah, I'm excited. I don't think it's over, and I think that I'm on the other side, which we will talk about. And I plan
Yeah.
on running many more.
Well, I know you will because you are one go-getter. So let's go back in time and talk about what happened. A few years ago, you got a shocking diagnosis. Let's start with what started going wrong when you were running and you said, you know what, there's something serious going on. I got to look into this.
Sure, and I'll give you some bullet points so I don't get out too in the weeds too much. And if there's
Mhm.
anything you want to come back to, just let me know.
Sure. That sounds like a
Um,
good plan.
I get kind of in the weeds sometimes. So yeah, when I was about 39, about 40, I started having debilitating hip pain. It started off earlier as like kind of a nagging uh, feeling. I mean, I would limp around let me go back further. When I was pregnant with my first child, Theo, I was still running through my pregnancy. And I would have a lot of pain when I would run 5 or 6 miles. Like the rest of the day, I would be sort of limping around. And I was told, oh, don't worry, it's probably round ligament pain. So, I just kind of sucked it up and thought it was normal and I just needed to push through it. Theo, by the way, was a 10-pound baby. Fun fact. But anyway, I ran the
That's
half
a big
marathon.
fact.
Fun fact: Theo was a 10-pound baby. That's why I was so huge. And I ran the Houston half marathon in 2015 when I was like almost 8 months pregnant. 8 months, yeah, post pregnant. So that was really fun. But anyway, so I started having, I would say, during pregnancy, and then it got debilitating about after I had my second child. It just progressively got worse, and the pain. Just got to where my leg literally, my left leg was the first one. It literally locked up when I was doing a morning run one day in 2021. It wasn't just that pain where I could tolerate limping
Mhm.
around for the rest of the day. It was like full on, like, oh my God, it felt like my bones were like grinding or there was
Mhm.
something broken. So I limped home. I made it home and kind of just was in a little bit of denial. Thinking, okay, well, maybe this is just nothing. It'll go
Yeah.
away. But it progressively got worse. I couldn't sleep. The pain was debilitating. It would lock up. So fast forward, I guess we'd say about a month or two after that, I made my first doctor appointment with
Mhm.
this doctor in the med center,
Mhm.
and they took my X-rays. Right when you get there, I hadn't had an
Yeah.
MRI yet, and they told me, Carrie, you have something called um, congenital hip dysplasia. And I had never heard of that. I've just heard about it with dogs, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, what does that mean? And basically, long story short, I'm not a doctor, but your hip, sometimes children are born with defective hips. The sockets aren't formed correctly. And if that is left misdiagnosed or missed, which in a lot of cases a
Mhm.
lot of cases it was back in,
Mhm.
especially like at the time, in my childhood, eventually it will lead to hip issues and be the number one cause of early osteoarthritis in young adults.
Mhm.
So
That's a lot for a runner who runs as much as you to get that news. And then you found out you would have to get double hip replacements. So I'm not gonna bury the lead here because it's such a big deal. You have had double hip transplants and are still training for a half marathon right now in Houston. So I think that is
well, thanks.
incredible. But let's talk about that journey. That had to be so hard to hear that and then know and wonder if you would ever get to run again, something that was so very important to you.
Right. Right. So it was a long journey to finally come to peace with the fact that this was the path I was going to take.
Mhm.
There were a lot of things that led up to that, but I basically made my decision a week before my first surgery was scheduled on November 7th, about a year ago.
Mhm.
I interviewed and researched several doctors. I would stay up so many nights when I was in pain, trying to find somebody like me who is a marathon runner
Mhm.
who could still run with hip replacements.
Mhm.
Um, Long story short, after I interviewed, I researched, I talked to even doctors in different states and cities. Uh, I had the blessing from one surgeon who I met, Dr. Stocks. He is incredible. He was the only one who gave me his blessing and feels confident then and now that
Mhm.
I will be back to the Boston Marathon one day.
And I love that you used your faith and you found that you believe God led you to the right doctor and the right medical care so that you could do what you love the rest of your life, right? How did you pray about it? How did you go about that?
Well, I have two little kids, so I was busy with that. I mean, I went through a lot of ups and downs. Yeah, I know I had a lot of prayers from family and friends, and yes, I
Mhm.
would pray about it. But I mean, honestly, there were times my faith was really tested, and I was very depressed and low, especially when I was trying to figure out, like, is this it? Because so
Mhm.
many doctors were saying, all right,
Mhm.
this was affecting not only my running, but my ability to be a present and active mom with my kids. I'm a very energetic. I like to be fun, play basketball with my son, whatever. And we
Mhm.
would sometimes even be walking like a half mile, like if we went to Discovery Green Park, for example, or the rodeo, and I just locked up and I
Mhm.
couldn't even walk. Um, so with that being said, yeah, it was just really I guess I tried everything I could. I was sort of in denial. I went through a lot of like phases, I guess, of the grieving process for this.
Mhm.
um but I finally came with my surgeon let me go back to the surgeon. I don't know how I found him. I keep trying to retrace my steps online. That's where I believe God came in. There's a few examples. I don't, he just, first of all, I just felt he was right. And he's so kind and he's brilliant. And he gave me the blessing. He feels confident that I could run, but I had never seen this. I had done a lot of research. So
Mhm.
that's where I really think my faith in God came in, because I cannot figure out for the life of me how I found him, made the phone call to his office, asked his assistant to have him or his surgical assistant call me. I didn't expect that. They are very busy. His assistant, Brandon, reached out to me on the phone and answered my questions and talked to Dr. Stocks. And my main one was, I'm considering a hip replacement. Here's my deal. Here are my future goals. What I didn't expect Dr. Stocks to say yes. Does he think I can run again if I do this? And Brandon got back to me and he said, yeah. And I was like, whoa. That took me, and I hadn't met him yet, and I don't want to get my hopes up. That took me from being in this like lowest point where I am going to PT. I'm taking anti-inflammatory prescriptions. I spent like $4,000 or $5,000 on these platelet-rich plasma injections that's not covered by insurance. I was
Mhm.
doing everything I could to think maybe there's a miracle. But once I heard that Dr. Stock said, I mean, there's no guarantees, right?
Yeah.
That you
Yeah.
have my blessing and I think you can do this. And then I met with him in July.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, like I felt more at peace. I still was in denial. Am I really going to go through this hip
Yeah.
replacement? It sounds really scary, but that is where I really feel and know that God came into my life. I can't find out how I found him.
It's incredible. You're basically on the other side of this. You did both of them 6 months apart. You're now what, about 7 months out from the last one, and so you're running
Yeah.
again. Is that about right on the timing?
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you walk us through this? So we've got your the before at the top, and then after. So I guess if we look at the hip sockets, that was where the problem is, because we can see the titanium ones below where it's really lit up and round.
And I probably should have gotten you a better picture, but yeah. So basically, with hip dysplasia, and if I ever, if you ever interview my surgeon or another orthopedic, they'd be able to probably explain it better. But from what I've learned, the sockets, I don't know if you can see my finger pointing, but the sockets on the top picture before, basically the socket is supposed to go completely over that ball of the hip. And the left side was worse. And so over time, it's grinding all over that cartilage. And so by the time I went in for the MRIs and imaging, and went into surgery for the first one, I have pictures of it. Like, it was bone on bone. Like, the hip was supposed to be bone colored, like the little ball. It was covered in arthritis, because it just had been grinding over time. And, yeah, it happened progressively, I guess, slowly over time.
And I
Because
know
that socket wasn't covering it.
even though you are young and so healthy, it had to be so painful. But yet we see you out on the street with your family, with a walker, with the huge smile on your face. How did you work through that pain and just say, no matter what it takes, I'm going to keep going and do this?
Well, so the second time around, Ben and my kids, I don't know if you noticed this walker. The second surgery, it was 5 months after, actually, but whatever, same thing. Second surgery, this blue and yellow walker, that's symbolic. They surprised me at the hospital, Ben did, and they decorated my walker in the Boston Marathon colors, which are blue and yellow, because they know how, it's like a, just a motivating, fun thing.
Yeah.
To have a little blinged out walker is always fun. So they decorated that. So we were trying to make it more fun. And because I had already gone through it once, I kind of knew the process and what I was in for. And I knew that, I kind of knew how to navigate it all. And so I was a little more upbeat, I feel like, the second time around. And my son, he was on a scooter and I was cruising around with my walker. It was a great
I love that so much. Now, you've done all the big ones in the U.S., including the New York Marathon, but the Boston Marathon is the one that you are striving to go back to, that means so much to you.
Yeah. Actually, I would love to go back to New York City too, but Boston is just the holy grail for me, because I only had I only had the chance to run it one time before kids, because after I qualified for the second time, I was going to run it in 2018, but I got pregnant with Poppy, my second child, so I couldn't run it that year. And then after that, COVID, and then I was having the hip pain, and my training wasn't where it was, and I couldn't have made it now with those hips. So my goal is that, all marathons are awesome, but my goal is, because in order to get back to Boston, you have to qualify first. And so my goal is to build up and get that qualifying time at probably at the Houston Marathon, I would assume, in a year or so. Maybe I'll put it out there. Next year's my goal, or the next two. And then you have to wait to get in another year or so, give or take, to get it to run the Boston Marathon. It's
so the goal is, let me picture, so half marathon this January, next month,
right.
The real marathon next year, then wait a year. So then the big one for you, hopefully.
You have to get in.
We got to do a follow-up. I'm going to have to put that on my calendar.
Absolutely. Yes.
Follow your journey. That will be so exciting.
This is still like we're in the early phases of it.
Yeah. Well, what's so neat is I have been able to meet up with you through the Arthritis Foundation. Tell me how you found them and how this partnership has been for you, because you are now really an incredible spokesperson for them to help spread the word that there's a lot of help for arthritis, because so many people suffer from it. 60 million people. You're far from alone.
So that's another thing. Okay, real fast, let me tell you something funny, and I think you're going to appreciate it. My sweet Aunt Laura, she lives in Iowa. She is praying for me all the time. She is like a second mom to me. And she taught me this term, and it's called a God wink. And I want to give her credit. Hi, Laura. Okay, so anyway, Laura and Dave, she's amazing. She always is She's supported me through all of this. Every time one of these things happens, that is just like oh my gosh, that was God.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way I could have planned
Mm-hmm.
meeting Dr. Stocks. So the Arthritis Foundation, that was a God wink. The
Mm-hmm.
Arthritis Foundation, finding them, totally insane how it all happened. Crazy. I couldn't have made it up. That was a God wink. I ended okay, so I'll give you the bullet points. After my second hip surgery, I started with a new PT who had good reviews. I'm sure he's great, but somehow they dropped, I don't want to say who it was, but they dropped the ball after my second hip surgery, and I got injured again. I had a setback. So I decided to switch to a different PT, and I found out about Ori. I don't think you've met her. They were at the gala, at the Bone Bash Gala.
Uh-huh.
Ori is amazing. She started her own business with Trina, and it's called Modus PT. They're phenomenal. I started working with her. She has gotten me to where I am now, where I can run again. She knew Kristen Stubbs at the with the Arthritis Foundation, and told Kristen about me. God wink. Kristen and I went to lunch, and there's Kristen in the middle, and there's Christina on the left, the other honoree. Kristen Stubbs and I met for lunch at Carrabba's, one of my favorites, and on my birthday, another God wink. And then we started talking, and I said I wanted to get involved, and I ended up becoming one of the honorees for the Arthritis Foundation's annual Bone Bash in October.
And I was there, and I saw
Awesome.
you, and you were so lovely, and I was so excited to be able to meet you and share your story. It was a magical night, and how special was that for you? I can tell by the look on your face here how emotional it was for you.
So that picture is very special. I mean, it shows a lot. That was when they were playing my 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 video to everybody at the Bone Bash. And honestly, I still have not processed what's gone on over the last couple of years. I'm working through it. This is like another therapy session. But it was so wonderful having my friends, and Ben has been so supportive, and then Kristen. And then while watching my video, like I got kind of the chills, and just feeling the love and the support, and like seeing like, oh my God, how did I make it here? How am I with this amazing like family, this group? I'm getting honored. I got a little teary-eyed, and I hadn't gotten teary-eyed in a while. So that was like a really powerful moment for me. And Ben caught the whole thing on video too.
That's so special, so incredibly special. Well, I wanted to ask you, as you take a look back at your life, and I see you here, and I am just loving these wedding photos of you and your husband. It was an honor to meet your husband, by the way, as well. But thankful for your photographer who's sharing these, Helene Howard. When you look back on this day, and you were just as healthy as you could be, and you never had an inkling that you would go through this, what would you tell somebody about the trials and tribulations of this life, and really how to force through it to get to the other side?
During that time, nobody's ever, how they say on social media, you can think somebody has the perfect life. You never really would know what's going on behind the scenes. I mean, I didn't have hip issues then, but Ben, there were some other things going on in life that were really stressful. But Ben and I, this picture is actually, I wanted to send it to you. It's symbolic kind of what I'm going through now, and what we've, fought through, my family and I, getting on the other side with these hip replacements. We're like taking the plunge. So yeah, we decided to do a trash the dress photo shoot with Helene. Yeah, this was in Bora Bora. We got married there, and it was so fun. Again, it was a risk. I'm like, am I going to regret trashing my dress? You know what? No, that thing's still hanging in the closet.
You only live one.
We have those pictures, and it was fun. It was like we were taking the leap into our new life together. And like, I think it also symbolizes like what I've done, taking the leap into this surgery, and now taking a leap into my hope and faith going forward, that I'm going to get back, to my running and my goals, and being the mom that I want to be.
Yeah. It is so important for everybody to realize it, no matter how tough it can be sometimes, that you can get to that other side, and especially with a positive attitude and a support team. And you've certainly had that through the Arthritis Foundation, through your PT, through your loving family. And we all need to remember to step up to the plate and help the loved ones in our life. Well, Carrie, it's an honor to talk to you. I'm so happy you're doing so well. We are going to be cheering you on at that Houston Marathon. Everybody, it's easy to remember her name, Carrie Bradshaw.
Oh, yeah.
I know you've heard that name before.
Yes. And Ben, he's going to make team sweatshirts, I think.
Oh, fun.
I have a new little Instagram name. It's Bionic Runner Babe. He's going to make sweatshirts. So if y'all want to come and have a little party out there, cheering on the runners, and for me,
Oh,
that would be so special.
oh, that would be awesome. What a fun idea. And I
Yeah.
love it. Tell us again how we can find you, Bionic.
Oh, so my little Instagram handle, I
Uh-huh.
just changed it. It's called I'm Bionic Runner Babe, or you can
Okay.
find me under Carrie Bradshaw.
Oh, that is so
Yeah.
fun. What a great one. All right, Carrie, we'll take care of you. Thanks for joining us and sharing your
Yeah.
journey. And it's truly a beautiful one. I'm so happy you're doing so well.
Well, yeah, and another God wink is that I met you, and like here I am getting to
Yeah.
like tell my story, and I just hope that through all of this that I can help at least one person,
Oh, I
you
know
know?
you will, for sure. People
Yeah.
need to know that there are so many resources out there, and the Arthritis Foundation, like they helped you, can help so many people. They're talking and doing all kinds of trials with new medications and bringing up
Right.
old ones that are helping. So look into it, everybody, if you are one of
Yes.
the millions of people dealing with arthritis. All right, Carrie, thank you
All
again
right.
so
Thank
much.
you so much, Melissa.
All
I'll talk
right,
to you soon.
you
All right.
got it.
You guys you have a good day.
All right, you do the same. And remember, everybody, Lunch for the Soul happens every Wednesday at 12:30. I hope you'll continue to join us. If you tuned in late today, perhaps, hey, you can go to our YouTube page. Just look at Fox 26 YouTube, search for Lunch for the Soul, and you can find all of the ones that I've done through the years. Thanks for being here. I hope you have a beautiful day. We'll see you back next time.